Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic.
Say it with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Good evening. Dear Democrats and liberals in America, you're being lied to about ICE, Border Patrol, and law enforcement operations currently being conducted by the Trump administration, the Department of Justice, FBI, the Department of Defense. This misinformation is being spread across social media and mainstream media by liberal pundits, including Democrat members of Congress, Democrat governors like California's Gavin Newsom and Minnesota's Tim Walz, Democrat mayors such as Karen Bass of Los Angeles, and various Democrat city council members. All of them are Democrats. The Trump administration is conducting ICE raids for the sole purpose of arresting those whose only crime was crossing the border illegally is not what's actually happening, unless they are harboring those that they're being targeted or they happen to be with them at the same time. ICE has been ordered to round up illegal aliens who were previously detained under the Biden administration and released into the country despite being known gang members, rapists, murderers, drug traffickers, and human sex trafficking of women and children. These individuals are some of the worst elements of any society, and the Biden-Harris administration let them loose, endangering American citizens. Since then, these criminals have gone on to commit more rapes, murders, assaults, and other horrific crimes against Americans. Now, instead of taking action to protect citizens, Democrat leaders are pouring gas on the fire, trying to convince you by lying, claiming that the Trump administration is rounding up hardworking men and women whose only crime was entering the country illegally. This is 100% false. Their reckless words are fueling chaos and riots in the cities like Los Angeles and New York, and many more to come in the next few hours and days. They're actively inciting violence against law enforcement officers who are risking their lives to remove dangerous criminals from our streets. These Democrat leaders are a disgrace to Congress and our country. Over the past few days, during ICE operations, illegal aliens, emboldened by misleading speeches from Democrat leaders, have joined together and are physically attacking law enforcement officers with homemade Molotov cocktails, bricks, chunks of concrete, and anything they can get their hands on. These are not peaceful protesters exercising their First Amendment rights, as the Democrat leaders are claiming they are. They are violent criminals attacking law enforcement, looting businesses, and setting vehicles on fire. The violence escalated so much in the past 24 hours that President Trump, recognizing that officers needed backup, called California Governor Newsom and suggested activating the California National Guard to assist in law enforcement operations. Newsom refused. He compared the violent rioters to peaceful protesters, just as other Democrat leaders have done and are doing right now. But the reality is clear to anyone watching the on-site news reporting by all the news media that's there right now. These are not peaceful protesters. There are violent criminals conducting coordinated attacks on our law enforcement officers, destroying property and endangering lives. Given the severity of the situation, President Trump had three choices. Number one, let ICE officers die at the hands of these criminals, activate the active duty military, or override Governor Newsom's authority and activate the California National Guard under federal control to support ICE and restore order. He chose the third option, which is currently taking place. And now this has turned into a full-fledged civil war. Illegal aliens, supported by Democrat leaders, taken to the streets to fight against the United States of America. I'm calling for every Democrat leader spreading these false narratives to be held accountable and arrested for inciting violence against our brave men and women in law enforcement. And so should you. This must stop now. The chaos cannot be allowed to continue. It is a disgrace that it has come to this. Democrat leaders siding with violent criminals over American citizens. You all will remember Democrat leaders did the exact same thing when violence was conducted all across America by Antifa and BLM. This is unacceptable, and this must be stopped. So pick up your phones, go on social media, go to the emails of your elected officials, and demand that something be done, more so than what's already being done at this very moment. So if by chance you have not had the opportunity yet to tune in and watch what's happening, well, sit back and watch as I share it with you all.
Say it with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Donald Trump ordered National Guard troops to Los Angeles, a rare deployment expected Sunday, against the state governor Gavin Newsom's wishes after sometimes violent protests against immigration enforcement raids. Trump took federal control of California's state military to push soldiers into the country's second biggest city, a decision deemed purposefully inflammatory by California Governor Gavin Newsom and of a kind not seen for decades. The development came after 2 days of confrontations during which federal agents fired flashbang grenades and tear gas toward crowds angry at the arrests of dozens of illegal migrants in a city with a large Latino population. A car was set on fire in the middle of an intersection in Los Angeles on Saturday as tensions flared between anti-ICE demonstrators and immigration authorities. 2 individuals were seen circling the burning car on motorbikes, with one waving a Mexican flag. Dozens of others stood on the outskirts of the intersection. Trump congratulated the National Guard for a job well done shortly before midnight on Saturday in a post on Truth Social. However, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass said on the social media platform X that the troops had not yet been deployed. Trump took a swipe at Bass and Newsom, saying in his post that they were unable to handle the task, drawing a comparison with deadly fires that hit the city in January. The National Guard, a reserve military, is frequently used in natural disasters, such as in the aftermath of the LA fires, and occasionally in instances of civil unrest, but almost always with the consent of local politicians. California's governor objected to the president's decision, saying it was purposefully inflammatory and will only escalate tensions. Federal authorities want a spectacle. Don't give them one. Never use violence. Speak out peacefully, Newsom said on X. Trump's Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth threatened to involve nearby regular military forces. If violence continues, active duty Marines at Camp Pendleton will also be mobilized. They are on high alert, he wrote on social media. The Department for Homeland Security said ICE operations in Los Angeles this week had resulted in the arrest of 118 aliens, including 5 gang members. Saturday's standoff took place in the suburb of Paramount, where demonstrators converged on a reported federal facility that the local mayor said was being used as a staging post by agents. Masked and armed immigration agents carried out high-profile workplace raids in separate parts of Los Angeles on Friday, attracting angry crowds and setting off hours-long standoffs.
Very possible that they could be, and that is there's some sort of smoke grenade that's been placed inside of that vehicle. Something is smoking. That's dark smoke inside that vehicle. So we very well may be seeing the start of a vehicle fire, and it looks like we are. This thing is lighting up, and that's pretty much, police are going to have, presumably, fire crews are going to have to presumably move in and take control of this situation as it gets even more dangerous. Again, this is the intersection of Alondra Boulevard and Atlantic Avenue in Compton, California. Dale's Donuts is that big donut on your screen. And this vehicle fire, this fire is taking off. This, again, we're seeing this in real time, and we have no idea how this started, why this started. Time will tell. Let's put the 2-box back up so that we can hear some audio from the ground. I'm not sure how close our ground crews are to the fire. We can see it in the distance there. A bizarre situation playing out in Southern California today. I'm gonna sit on this for a moment. Let's bump up the audio. Now we work with live feeds, and that's what we've been relying on this entire afternoon as we've watched this protest continue. Sometimes it looks like things are calming down. And so when it's safe, presumably, we'll see emergency crews put this fire out. We see loads of law enforcement down the road, maintaining a barrier so that these protesters can't get any closer to the 710 freeway. These officers were staged on Alondra Boulevard. You see some of those photojournalists documenting, and you see some of the officers with the riot gear. I believe these are LA Sheriff's deputies. All day we've been seeing what presumably could be fireworks. Some sort of blast we saw. It appeared some of the protesters were throwing something at officers. Time will tell what exactly was being thrown at officers, what those blasts were that we were seeing. And now we see a little bit more activity getting back into the streets here, as we see at least a momentary moment of celebration from some of these protesters. Again, we've been seeing the Mexican flag and some of these people looky-loos, some of them taking photos in front of the car, now posing for a picture with the Mexican flag in front of the burning car. We continue to see the motorists riding around in circles.
Fucking disgusting.
Police are not in this immediate vicinity. They are down Alondra Boulevard, just east. All the police are just east of where this scene is. A lot of the protesters have been moved away from the 710 freeway, and now many of them have converged at the intersection of Alondra and Atlantic. Anybody in the area is advised, obviously, to stay away.
What is your response to President Trump's decision to deploy the National Guard?
Look, since years before I was born, Law enforcement knows it's good when there's cooperation and coordination. For the president to do this when it wasn't requested, breaking with generations of tradition, is only going to incite the situation and make things worse. We are now at a point where we have a president who sat back and did nothing as people stormed our Capitol, viciously beat police. And then when those people who viciously beat police and led to some of their deaths, therefore cop killers, were convicted by juries, he then pardoned them all. So for him to be talking to anybody right now about responsive law enforcement to protect people is hypocritical at best. The reality is we see peaceful protests launching in Los Angeles. And again, any violence against police officers should not be accepted. Local authorities can handle that. But remember, a lot of these peaceful protests are being generated because the President of the United States is sowing chaos and confusion by arresting people who are showing up for their immigration hearings, who are trying to abide by the law. He's arresting them. And you see this in communities that are Republican, Trump supporters, being outraged that he's raiding kitchens and arresting people, high schools and arresting people who are not what he said he would do, which is focus law enforcement resources on violent criminals and people that are a danger to other Americans.
All right.
One that's not a bitch or nothing but animals.
Like this.
beat is that? At least they know how to say fuck eyes. Well, the only thing they learn how to spell or say in English.
Joining us now, Democratic Congressman Robert Garcia of California. He's a member of the House Homeland Security Committee. Congressman Garcia, as always, thank you for coming to the weekend. Your reaction to the ICE raids in Los Angeles?
I mean, obviously we're not just devastated, but I think a lot of us in California especially are incredibly concerned about what's happening in our home state, but across the country. What we're seeing is really not actions that are trying to target folks that are actually doing anything illegal or that are causing crimes. We're seeing these mass raids happening in areas that are peaceful, the Garment District. We're seeing it at schools. We have two schools where agents visited an elementary school back home in California, even in my own district, asking for children to come and see them at the school without parents' permission. We're seeing United States citizens, American citizens, getting swept up. And so, look, I think everyone can agree that in this country, if you are here, you're committing crimes in this country, that's just one thing. And those folks shouldn't be here. But if you're here illegally, you deserve due process. And these types of raids, I mean, sweeping up a national and state leader from the SCIU who was there to observe, who fortunately was released, is quite shameful.
You know, what you're talking about is Operation at Large, which is this kind of nationwide ICE-led plan that is ramping up arrests of unauthorized immigrants. So you have a quota of 3,000 arrests per day, more than 5,000 personnel from across federal law enforcement agencies, 3,000 ICE agents, 1,800 from Homeland Security investigations, where they're supposed to be doing something else, 2,000 DOJ employees, 500 CBP employees, 250 IRS agents, up to 21,000 National Guard troops requested. We've never seen anything like this before in this country. This was promised by the president, but I'm curious what you think of them pulling folks from the other agencies, right? IRS agencies getting pulled up into this Operation at Large, for example.
And this is really a huge problem. So here's, you know, before I got to Congress, I was mayor of my city of Long Beach for 8 years. Law enforcement should be focused on law enforcement, making sure you're keeping people safe. What's happening here, I think the concern for a lot of us is we're actually essentially now bringing in all sorts of people from agencies to do Donald Trump's bidding. These are folks that should be going right now after transnational criminals. These are folks that should be actually keeping the country safe. They should be focused on keeping our ports of entry safe. They should be focused on going after people that are cheating and scamming the American public. But instead, what's happening, we're forcing them to go visit children in our schools. We're forcing them to go out and conduct these raids on innocent people, and oftentimes without due process. So this idea that we're now trying to mobilize the entirety of the federal government for Donald Trump's deportation agenda, which is not actually focused on criminals and folks doing crime, but hitting some sort of quota, I think all Americans should be concerned about that.
Congressman, let me let's switch gears and talk about Kilmar Abrego Garcia.
100% lying sack of shit that's a member of our Congress, the Democrat Party member of our Congress, lying. ICE agents are not going into schools, bringing children and talking to them about any damn thing. The people being arrested are those that have committed murder, rape, sex trafficking of women and children, doing damage to public property, federal buildings. They're sex traffickers. They're MS-13 gang members. They're not innocent, illegal aliens whose only crime was coming across our southern border. You freaking moron.
It's a surreal sight. This Black Hawk moved in just in the last few minutes from the Border Patrol, landing at that Homeland Security office on the Paramount side, right next to the Home Depot, and they are unloading this huge helicopter with, I mean, just boxes and boxes, dozens of boxes of ammunitions, less lethal weaponry. You see these tanks with flammable labels on the side, one after another, an entire shipment, as if they were getting ready for some kind of a major battle. I mean, it really has to be said, this is a remarkable sight in the middle of a suburban street here, where they are just unloading all of these weapons, carts full of boxes and flammable weaponry. So you can see that it just made its own parking spot there in the parking lot of that Homeland Security office on the other side of the river, where all of this is taking place, and just a few blocks from that Home Depot and right across the freeway from where that car fire was, just a few blocks away, and the protesters and Sheriff's Department had been squaring off. But this site here at the Homeland Security office of these federal officials unloading dozens of boxes of weapons and ammunition is just quite a sight to behold here. Something I really don't recall ever seeing here. Guys, back to you.
They're coming
playing Mexican music.
Tom Homan is in Los Angeles as the immigration raids unfold. In an interview today, Homan said, quote, "We're making Los Angeles safer."
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem posted on X today saying a message to the LA rioters: "You will not stop us or slow us down. ICE will continue to enforce the law. And if you lay a hand on a law enforcement officer, you will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law." Some lawmakers and immigration advocates surrounded the Roy Ball Federal Building just this morning.
They're demanding transparency from the Department of Homeland Security as well as ICE after reports of immigrants being detained in that building there in downtown LA. NBC4's Camilla Rambaldi has more.
A number of immigration advocates and members of the California congressional delegation gathering outside the Roy Ball Federal Building Saturday morning.
I've come to this facility numerous times. Today we're here again, unannounced. And I hope the folks here follow the law. That's all we're asking today.
This press conference happening after ICE raids in the Westlake District in downtown Los Angeles Friday led to protests outside the detention center. At one of the raids at the Home Depot in Westlake, more than a dozen people were detained by agents. Over 40 people were also arrested while the immigration raids were being done at multiple locations in downtown LA.
For us to prevent what happened last night here in Los Angeles, we must ensure that every federal agent, whether it's the FBI, the DHS, or whatever ABC soup of the federal government comes into our communities, that they are identifying themselves and that they are notifying our local police.
No matter if you're undocumented, you still have rights. You still have due process rights.
U.S. Representative Jimmy Gomez says they are there to demand transparency and accountability from the Department of Homeland Security and ICE.
We are here to demand that we get to come in to see the individuals and to see the conditions.
According to the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights of Los Angeles, some people who have been coming to the federal building for routine appointments and hearings have been detained.
CHIRLA has a hotline that is set up as part of our rapid response network. We have been receiving phone calls nonstop from family members who have been detained or who have witnessed some of the operations that happened throughout the week.
Several witnesses telling our sister station Telemundo 52 that their family members are being held without any explanation. A statement to NBC4 from a senior DHS official reads in part, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement categorically refutes the assertions made by immigration activists in Los Angeles. ICE takes very seriously its mandate to care for people in their custody with dignity and as mandated by law. Camilla Rambaldi, NBC4 News.
Shout out to IRT Media. Thank you.
We have breaking news now. You are seeing protests erupting in the Los Angeles area tonight as law enforcement squares off with crowds protesting immigration raids in the city. For 2 days in a row, the LAPD has used flashbangs and tear gas to clear demonstrators. The Trump administration is deploying 2,000 National Guardsmen, a move California's governor called inflammatory. And the FBI says it will investigate protesters for interfering with federal agents. Let's get to CNN Julia Vargas Jones now, who's with protesters who've gathered in downtown Los Angeles. And Julia, what have you seen so far?
Hi, Brian. Look, we are here outside the federal building in downtown Los Angeles, where protesters are saying, they don't want ICE in Los Angeles. They're chanting out with ICE. Release the people that have been arrested. There are about 118 people that were arrested according to the Department of Homeland Security in the several actions that took place in Los Angeles this week. Some of them here in downtown Los Angeles, 3 of them on Friday, and then again today in about an hour south of downtown Los Angeles in the town of Paramount. That is where we saw some quite stunning video of protesters, community members stepping in and kind of stepping in the way of federal immigration officers as they were staging for a potential raid there. Brian, we are also hearing the calls for the release of, you can hear it from David Huerta, a prominent activist and union leader here in Los Angeles who was arrested as part of these raids. The National Guard, we are expecting the National Guard to arrive in Los Angeles soon after President Trump authorized about 2,000 of them to come in. Now, we also did hear from Governor Gavin Newsom, his statement saying that he thinks that this will only fan the flames of these protests, which right now are quite small, even though these images I know are striking. Not sure if we have those right now, but earlier today in Compton, just near Paramount, where these ICE presence was known earlier today, we saw a car set on fire. We can see protesters with Mexican flags setting that car on fire. That's, again, just an hour south of where we are. Just to give you that sense of how dispersed these actions are and how they are targeted. These specific locations where ICE raids are, or here where this detention center is, where some of the people that have been picked up in these raids have been brought to, Brian.
There's a fire.
Riot police faced off against anti-ICE protesters in downtown Los Angeles on Friday evening. The tense confrontation came after a day of federal immigration raids across the city. Dozens of people were reportedly taken into custody. This eyewitness footage appears to show one such raid, in which caravans of unmarked military-style vehicles and vans loaded with uniformed federal agents streamed through LA. ICE agents targeted several locations, according to the Los Angeles City News Service, as part of President Donald Trump's extensive crackdown on illegal immigration. Trump has vowed to arrest and deport undocumented migrants in record numbers. Live video of the subsequent protest showed LAPD officers lined up on a downtown street, wielding batons and what appeared to be tear gas rifles. Angelica Salas is the executive director of the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights.
Our community is under attack and is being terrorized. These are workers. These are fathers. These are mothers. And this has to stop.
Authorities had ordered demonstrators
You're right about that.
disperse around nightfall. Early in the standoff, some protesters hurled chunks of broken concrete towards officers. Police responded with tear gas and pepper spray and also fired flashbang concussion rounds. An LAPD spokesperson said police on the scene had declared an unlawful assembly, meaning that those who failed to leave were subject to arrest.
It was not clear whether there were any immediate arrests. Impromptu demonstrations had also erupted at some of the raid locations earlier in the day. ICE did not immediately respond to a request for information about its enforcement actions. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass issued a statement condemning the immigration raids, saying these tactics sow terror in our communities and disrupt basic principles of safety in our city.
Thank Karen Bass and let fires go undone in California. if you just joined us, let me remind you of something real quick here. Especially if you're a Democrat or a liberal, you're being lied to. You're being lied to about ICE, Border Patrol, and these law enforcement operations that are being conducted by the Trump administration, the Department of Justice, the FBI, the Defense Department. The misinformation being spread across social media, mainstream media, liberal pundits, including Democrat members of Congress, Democrat governors like Gavin Newsom of California and Tim Walz of Minnesota, Democrat mayors like Karen Bass of Los Angeles, and various Democrat city council members. The Trump administration is not conducting ICE raids for the sole purpose of arresting those whose only crime was crossing our southern border illegally, unless they are harboring those being targeted or interfering with law enforcement operations. ICE has been ordered to round up illegal aliens who were previously detained under the Biden administration and released into the country, despite being known gang members, rapists, murderers, drug traffickers. These individuals are some of the worst elements of our society. The Biden-Harris administration let them loose upon us to endanger American citizens. Since then, these criminals have gone on to commit more crimes, more rapes of women, more murders, more assaults, more robberies, and other horrific crimes against American citizens. Now, instead of taking action to protect citizens, Democrat leaders are pouring gas on the fire, lying to you and claiming that the Trump administration is rounding up hardworking men and women whose only crime was entering the country illegally. And that, my friends, is 100% false. It is not true. Their reckless words are fueling chaos and riots in the cities of Los Angeles and New York, and it's going to get worse. Tonight, Sunday night, watch what's about to happen. And many other cities as well. It's going to actually get out of control. Their activities are inciting violence against law enforcement officers who are risking their lives to remove dangerous criminals from our streets. These Democrat leaders are a disgrace to Congress and our country. Over the past few years, during ICE operations, illegal aliens emboldened by misleading speeches from Democrat leaders have joined together and physically attack law enforcement officers with homemade Molotov cocktails, bricks, chunks of concrete. You watched it happen right there. They were busting up things of concrete so they could throw them at officers. Anything to get their hands on. These are not peaceful protesters exercising their First Amendment rights, as Democrat leaders want you to believe. They're violent criminals attacking officers, looting businesses, and setting vehicles on fire. Tonight, it's going to get worse. The violence escalated so much in the past 24 hours that President Trump recognized that officers needed backup, called California Governor Newsom, and suggested he activate the California National Guard to assist law enforcement operations. Newsom refused. He compared the violent rioters to peaceful protesters, just as other Democrat leaders are doing right now. But the reality is clear to anyone watching these on-scene reports that are coming in. These are not peaceful demonstrators. These are violent criminals conducting coordinated attacks on our law enforcement officers, destroying property and endangering American lives. Given the severity of the situation, President Trump had three choices. Number one, he could let ICE officers die at the hands of these criminals. He could activate the active duty military, which, oh, by the way, is still on standby at the moment, or override Governor Newsom's authority and activate the California National Guard under federal control to support ICE and restore order. And that's exactly what he chose to do. And now this has turned into a full-fledged civil war with illegal aliens supported by Democrat leaders taken to the streets to fight against we, the American people. I'm calling for every Democrat leader spreading these false narratives to be held accountable and arrested for inciting violence against our brave men and women of law enforcement. And so should you. This must stop now. This chaos cannot be continued. This is a disgrace. It's a disgrace that it's come to this. Democrat leaders siding with violent criminals over American citizens. You all remember what we watched unfold not too long ago. The same type chaos with Antifa, with BLM, and the Democrat leaders letting them do it and inciting the violence to continue. It's unacceptable and it must stop. It is up to me and you tomorrow, Monday. And look, tomorrow, Monday, pick up your phones, call your elected leaders, get their email addresses, send them letters. Do the same thing with the Department of Justice and the FBI. Be nice, be polite. Just say, as an American citizen, I demand more action be taken to stop this unrest. Go to all these Democrat leaders' X, formerly Twitter sites, their Facebook sites, their YouTube channels, and slam them. That's what needs to happen. This must stop. This kind of chaos happening in the streets of America. What you just watched, my friends, if you didn't know any better, you would think that you were watching news footage from Mexico or Venezuela or Ecuador, some communist bloc country, Afghanistan, North Korea. No, right here in America. What you just watched is happening in Los Angeles, California. And it's also happening in New York. I didn't even show you that footage. And tonight, it's going to get worse. And it's going to spread like a virus, just like what we saw happen with Antifa, what we saw happen with BLM. They're going to be looting. They're going to be burning. And what's going to happen is somebody's going to get killed. That, my friends, is going to happen. It's just a matter of when. Whether it happens in the next 30 minutes or overnight, somebody in law enforcement is going to have to kill one or more of these people, or they're going to deploy something that's going to kill a law enforcement officer. And that is unacceptable, and something needs to be done about it immediately. It has to be stopped. It has to be stopped cold, dead in its tracks before it continues to get any worse than it already is.